That banner is unveiled.
You cannot stop him.
The kick is good! He got it! Right into the end zone! They stay undefeated 10-0.
Bill Belichick has done it again, Rich Gannon. In fact, some think this is about as good a coaching job that he has done.
Well, I think as a team, they've done a terrific job handling success. There were no signs at all of this season of a Super Bowl hangover. Remember, this is the team that won their first 10 games, and now all they had to do is win here today, and they get that #1 seed in the AFC. And as you know, Kevin, 4 of the last 5 times that they've had home field advantage, they've advanced to the Super Bowl. So they know what's at stake in this one.
It may not get much warmer than 78 degrees this afternoon. There is, as you might expect here in South Florida, always a chance of rain, and that's what lingers ahead. We've had the fireworks, the season finale for both these teams. A lot of uncertainty for the Miami Dolphins. Damian Williams is deep back. The Patriots won the toss. They have deferred. The Dolphins receive. Gostkowski boots it away. Week 17 in the NFL is underway into a knee with a touchback to the 20-yard line. Miami will have it 1st and 10. The Dolphin quarterback is 4th-year Texas A&M quarterback Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, and he's not played well in the division. And going back, really studying him since his first year. He's going to have to change his approach because what he's doing simply isn't working. You look at the numbers, not a strong finisher, but they've got to start fast, Kevin. Slow starts have been a problem all season. They've scored just 44 first-quarter points for the first 15 games. That's less than 3 points in the first quarter.
Patriots defensively come out in the nickel. 1st and 10. The fake to Miller. Good time in the pocket. Tannehill. Landry makes the grab. Pushed out of bounds by Patrick Chung. It is a gain of 11 on that first down throw. On the offensive line, Jamil Douglas will start for the injured Mike Pouncey. Douglas is a rookie. Has played very little center. We just saw Landry, an elite wide receiver, 105 receptions this season, setting Dolphin records. Here the 1st and 10 after the 11-yard gain. This is Miller, who is brought down by Chung, hit on the line by Alan Branch. Patriot D, Jabal Shear replaces the injured Chandler Jones. Ninkovich will play. Hurt his shin last week. There is Darius Fleming replacing Dante Hightower, and Devin McCourty missed the last 2 games. Patrick Chung is back as well. 2nd down and 7. Knocked away. Nice defensive play. How about that pass defense by Jamie Collins, the leading tackler, and a terrific back down right there.
He's had a really terrific season, a Pro Bowl season. And Kevin, you mentioned the safety position. Getting McCourty and Chung back is really going to help. But look at Jamie Collins. We know he can rush the passer, and he's a terrific player in space, but his ability to go out in the slot and cover is outstanding.
3rd down and 7. Tannehill going deep. And it's incomplete. Looking for Stills and coverage on the play by Leonard Johnson. Part-time starter with the Buccaneers. Now in the secondary, it's a punting situation for the Dolphins on their first possession.
Boy, 3rd down has been a problem all season for the Dolphins. They're converting just 29%. That's 30th. And the reason why, the average yards to go is the most in football. They average over 8 yards in every 3rd down situation. Need more production on the early downs.
Matt Darr is a rookie free agent from Tennessee. And he's number 3 in the NFL with his punting. Keyshawn Martin back there with the fair catch at the 15-yard line. That's a 51-yard punt. Here comes Brady. Here come the Patriots with their first possession today on CBS. Tom Brady is number 1, Rich, in passing yards and number 1 in touchdown passes this season.
Yeah, to me, Kevin, the numbers are amazing, especially when you consider all the injuries that we talked about in the open. He's really had an MVP-type season.
Steven Jackson in the backfield. You see the 2 tight ends. 1st and 10 after the 4 and out by Miami. And this is Jackson. He takes it in, tackled by Michael Thomas as he works his way for a gain of about 3. Then he's up to the 18-yard line. Yeah, Brady has had a remarkable season for the Patriots.
Yeah, and I think, you look at his production, and I just think that he's a model of consistency. He goes out, even with the injuries, it doesn't affect his performance on the field. He's a terrific leader, we know that. I just think his ability to work with younger players is incredible. His ability to take a Keyshawn Martin or a Chris Harper, or young players that have come into their building, and he's helped prepare them so they can go out and play at a high level.
Like the Patriots, Miami will start in the nickel. 2nd down and 7. This is Jackson. And from there, Calvin Shepard, among others, making the stop. It is a loss of a yard. On the offensive line, Cameron Fulman replaces the injured Sebastian Vollmer at the left tackle, Klein at the left guard, Trey Jackson at the right guard. And the skill guys, Danny Amendola is active, will not start, may not play. Julian Edelman is inactive. LaFell and Martin are the 2 wide receiver starters. 3rd down and 8. In motion, Bolden. Shuffle pass, Brandon Bolden. He takes it out to the 24, shy of the 1st down. Gain of 6 on the play. And the punting unit will be out there. Another tackle made by Neville Hewitt, who starts as a linebacker today.
A little something different, a little shovel pass on 3rd down. Miami does a pretty nice job coming off. You look at Neville Hewitt, nice tackle there, good alert play, keeping his eyes in the backfield.
Wide receiver Jarvis Landry is back inside the 20-yard line for Miami. And to punt, Ryan Allen. And a 44-yard net against the Jets last weekend in the Meadowlands. There's a bit of a breeze, but nothing that should affect punting or passing. Back at the 25 with a hang time of 4.3, 50-yarder by the punter, Ryan Allen. Here comes Tannehill, another try for the Dolphins.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Ram Trucks, guts, glory, Ram. And by New York Life, here to help you keep good going.
Welcome back to Miami with aerial coverage of today's game provided by DirecTV. Each team has had it. Each team has punted. A lot of uncertainty. Rich, we talked about this earlier with their interim head coach, Dan Campbell, 4-7 since taking over for the fired Joe Philbin.
Yeah, and his message this week is, look, everything's been about 1 week, 1 game, 1 win. They want to finish strong and feel good about their performance here today against the Patriots.
While the New England Patriots already have a first-round bye, 6th consecutive first-round bye, Belichick, Daniel, and Brady. Triple crown of offense and coaching from the 26. It's the 2nd possession for the Dolphins, 1st and 10. And Lamar Miller. Oh, look at him get the nice block by the tight end, Sims, and he's off to the races. McCourty will chase him down. The gallop to the 45-yard line of New England. A 29-yard run and a 1st down for the Dolphins.
Well, you're going to see the penetration, a really nice job avoiding the collision in the hole by Lamar Miller, keeping his eyes up. Does a nice job swinging and missing and dodging and weaving up into the 2nd level.
That's a lot of adjectives. First down, but that's what he was doing. You're right here. He tries to pound it, running downhill, and brought down on that defensive line by Akeem Hicks. It is a gain of 2 for Miller, down to the 43-yard line.
Let's talk about some of the keys, Kevin, for Miami offensively. They've got to be able to run the ball to have a chance. They need to be efficient on 1st and 2nd down. I think when they take their shots off of play action, they've got to be able to hit them. And then finally, when they get down in the red zone, they need to come away with touchdowns and not field goals against the Patriots.
Hicks almost got him. Tannehill going deep. And incomplete for Landry with the coverage by the Pro Bowler Malcolm Butler. 3rd and 8 coming up for the Dolphins.
Well, he's had a terrific year. You mentioned the Pro Bowler Malcolm Butler. Plays with a lot of confidence, and he doesn't get down on himself when he gets beat. He knows he's going to have his hands full today versus Jarvis Landry. Talked about over 100 catches this season, and Patriots put Malcolm Butler in some tough situations each week, and he has really responded in his 2nd year.
Geno Grissom has come in on the defensive line for the New England Patriots. Running back is Williams. 3rd and 8, Damian Williams is in the backfield. He'll get the call here. In the flat, you can see he gets by Collins and dives with a tackle made by McCourty to the 34 of New England. 9-yard pickup, another Miami 1st down.
What a terrific effort there. Tannehill's just going to kick it out in the flat. to Damian Williams, and watch this effort here to get the first down.
Williams remains. He was undrafted out of Oklahoma, a second-year player.
Not surprised, Kevin, to see the Dolphins go up-tempo, no huddle.
And why not? Williams here, big hole. Brought down by Gerard Mayo. He was dragged down to the 26-yard line with a gain of 8 by Damian Williams.
Well, they really struggled last week against the Colts, and then there at the end of the game, they went no huddle, and they had a lot of success, particularly Tannehill finding Jarvis Landry down the middle of the field.
It's a 2nd and 2. Williams again corkscrews his way. Looks like maybe Geno Grissom made the stop. A gain of 3 down to the 22-yard line. Another first down. So on this drive, a run by Miller of 29, a catch and run by Williams. 8-yard run by Williams, and he leads right now after some good work.
And we talked about changes along the offensive line for the Patriots. How about the Dolphins? They're without their starting center. We've got a guy in there that hasn't played a lot of football. Douglas, Fox, the right tackle, taking over for Juwan James.
1st and 10 handoff to Miller. He picks up 5, bursting free. Malcolm Brown, the rookie out of Texas, brings him down off the defensive line for New England.
Yeah, it's tough when you don't have your Pro Bowl center, Mike Pouncey. Jamil Douglas, 4th-round pick out of Arizona State. He's learning on the job. He's not a natural center. His natural position is the guard position.
They play the drive, and you can see they've blown it dead. Ed Hockley is our referee here today.
Start offense, number 14. 5-yard penalty. The 2nd down.
That's Jarvis Landry, the 2nd-year wide receiver for the Dolphins out of LSU.
Well, this is what they have to get cleaned up, the penalties. They've been a problem all year for the Dolphins. 9 last week, 125 already, which is the 5th most. At times it's a lack of discipline. Guys just not paying attention, not doing the little things right. They have to avoid the self-inflicted wounds to have a chance.
5 defensive backs, including Leonard Johnson for the Pats. 2nd and 10. Lamar Miller in motion out of the backfield. Will get the call right here. Logan Ryan is there, as is the aforementioned Leonard Johnson. And the gain is 3. He'll take it down to about the 20-yard line of New England.
This is an area where the Dolphins have had issues as well down the red zone. They settle for too many field goals in this part of the field. And you play Brady and the Patriots, Kevin. If you're the quarterback, your mentality, your mindset has to be, I have to come away with points every possession. And when I get down in the red zone, I have to make those opportunities count.
9th play of the drive, 3rd and 7. Blocking is there. The pass right through the hands of Kenny Stills. Malcolm Butler was defending on the play. 4th down. They'll go for 3.
Well, this one's a little bit high, but still a ball you have to catch. A lot of drops this year as well. I mean, just you haven't been consistent in any one area on offense. It's a big reason why they're 5 and 10.
So here's Andrew Franks, who is 11 of 13, as you can see, with his field goal. He's another rookie free agent. He is out of RPI. 38-yard field goal for the lead, with 8:07 to play in the 1st quarter. A run of 29 by Lamar Miller, a catch and run for a first by Damian Williams. And then a 38-yard field goal puts the Dolphins on top. Almost 80 degrees here in Miami. Thursday on CBS. Start the new year with a big bang. The first new episode of 2016. Thursday at 8, 7 Central. Only CBS. We're looking drive of 10 plays by the Dolphins. They get a 38-yard field goal. Now to boot it off for Miami will be Andrew Franks. And deep back is Keyshawn Martin, who they got early in the season in a trade with the Houston Texans. And Martin will leave it in the end zone. Touchback will take him to the 20 with a 1st down and 10. The Dolphin defense, the highest paid defensive player in the NFL is Ndamukong Suh. So if anything goes wrong, you know, they start pointing at him. But his season really has been pretty good in a lot of ways. Rookie free agent linebacker Neville Hewitt starts for the injured Jelani Jenkins. And Rashad Jones has had his best season. The #1 tackler among all defensive backs in the NFL. Number 4 overall. Yet he did not make the Pro Bowl. Out of many snubs. 1st and 10. Steven Jackson riding them down in the secondary. Bryce McCain. It's a gain of 6. Running like he used to at the St. Louis Rams. He's up to the 26-yard line.
Well, you look at the personnel grouping and the fact that Steven Jackson's in the game. It tells you a little bit about, I think, what the Patriots want to do. Miami's had a difficult time stopping the run all season long. They've been 30th in run defense, getting up over 130 yards a game on the ground.
Jackson again with the dive near the 28-yard line with a gain of 2 on the play. Hit in the middle. And a couple in there, including DeAndre Coleman, former practice squad player for Miami.
Yeah, it's interesting that Steven Jackson spent that year with offensive coordinator Josh McDaniel in St. Louis, so he has had some exposure to the system and the terminology. I think he's well ahead of anyone else who would have just joined this team this late in the season. He's a big back that can move piles. He's a powerful downhill runner inside.
3rd and 2, couple tight ends. Brady, Jackson, and he carves his way, digging hard for a first down with a gain of 3. Shelby on the bottom of the pile. Steven Jackson is 32 years of age. He played for the first time last week in over a year.
And you look at those numbers, Kevin, I have great respect for anybody who's over 10,000 yards in career rushing yards. And he's over 11,000, third most among active players. And of course, we know he's got fresh legs, right? He's not been beat up, so I think this is a good decision by the Patriots. And think about the number of changes. 7 different running backs with at least 1 carry this season for New England.
Brandon Bolden is in here. Trying to get a block on the play from Trey Jackson. You can see the stack up and the knockback. It's a loss of a yard on the play. There's Hewitt, who makes the stop, getting some help from Terrence Fede on the defensive line for Miami.
And Hewitt getting an opportunity to play because of the injury to Jelani Jenkins. This is a great opportunity, Kevin, for a lot of players on both sides of the ball. You know, young and experienced players who are getting the opportunity to play because of injuries late in the season.
Bolden remains. 4 consecutive runs for Brady. With the number 29 running attack in the NFL coming in. 2nd and 11. Bolden with the dive. And he lands at about the 32, 33-yard line with a gain of 3. Is the offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels was telling us last night, Rich, against the Jets, and recently they're just trying to get their offensive rhythm, trying to ignite some offense any way they can.
Yeah, I think he's done a terrific job with all the injuries. And I think really formulating game plans each week with the players he has available. It's not easy. I mean, you have to be creative and make sure you're putting players in a position where they have a chance to be successful.
5 defensive backs, 3rd and 8 for Brady. Gronk. Bolden. Gronkowski a block, and look at him dig his way close to a first down, coming up shy by a couple. He picks up 6 on 3rd and 8. And the punting unit takes the field once again for the New England Patriots.
Well, it's interesting, a couple 3rd and longs, and Patriots decide to run the ball in both those situations. I think the message was delivered last night. We've got to be able to run the ball effectively against this Miami defense to have a chance to win.
2 possessions for the New England Patriots. Here is the second punt. Ryan Allen will send it to Jarvis Landry inside the 20-yard line. Beauty. Landing at the 8 and into the end zone. 61-yard punt by Ryan Allen. It's Ryan Tannehill with another try. They've punted and gotten a field goal in their first 2 possessions here in Miami today.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Papa John's, official pizza sponsor of the NFL, and by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL.
You have a 38-yard field goal by the Miami Dolphins here on the shores of the Atlantic with a punt for the Patriots. 1st and 10, Landry. Upended. Butler knocked him like a rag doll with the tackle there, and a gain of 5 on that jet sweep or end around to the 25-yard line. There's Malcolm Butler. You know, for Bill Belichick, Rich, it's all about keeping the roster healthy for the short and for the long term for this team.
Yeah, I think it's important to go into the postseason with some confidence and momentum. They certainly don't want to lose today, and they know what's at stake in terms of that number 1 seed. But he said last night it's not as important where they play, but how they're playing at that time.
It looked like somebody jumped on that line. It's 2nd down and 5. Here comes Miller trying to ply his way. Sheard is there. Also hit by Mayo on a gain of 3 with Achilles Crew right on it with the yellow thrown. Yeah, that was an interesting comment by Belichick. How we're playing is more important, probably.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've had home field and lost the Ravens a couple years ago. They want to be playing their best football when it matters the most in January.
Follows in number 97.
Ready?
A hard count.
Yep. Offsides on New England. They're close to a first down, so second down and inches now for Miami. We had a terrific talk with Belichick last night. He was animated and very relaxed, we thought.
Very focused, though,
yeah.
as he always is.
That part never leaves. Fake to Lamar Miller. Outside they go here to Craig Jennings. Look at the block downfield by Stills. Butler tried to rip it out. Then McCourty ushers out the 10-year veteran Jennings from Green Bay and the Vikings, and now here at the Dolphins, it is a 23-yard catch and run.
Well, they do a lot of this, these quick screens. This is well executed. You're going to see the blocks out in front. Both corners get really walked back, and nice job by Jennings, the veteran, finishing.
Just his 16th reception this season. Here the 1st and 10 for Tannehill. Here they come. Down he goes. Brought down by Grissom. His first NFL sack. Geno Grissom, a third-round pick out of Oklahoma. It's a loss of 9. The Patriots #2 in the NFL in tackles.
Yeah, and you see the pressure up inside, and they don't do a good job, especially at the right tackle position. You're going to see Fox. He gets beat right across his face. Tannehill's been knocked down, Kevin, way too much. You think about it, no quarterback has been sacked more in the last 4 seasons than Ryan Tannehill. He's been dropped 183 times, 44 this year alone.
Number 45 was right there. He and Russell Wilson and Alex Smith with Kansas City have been sacked as much. A 2nd and 18. Miller works his way into the grasp of Gerard Mayo and Leonard Johnson. It is a gain of 6.
Yeah, look at those numbers, 45 times, which is the most in the NFL. And the offensive line play certainly hasn't helped his production, and I think when you look at this offensive line, it needs to be a priority in the offseason when it comes to free agency and the draft.
He sacked 6 times last week here against the Indianapolis Colts.
It affects your confidence, your ability to sit in there and trust the protection and step up in the pocket.
3rd and 12.
See a lot of internal pressure.
Blocked by Miller. Time for Tannehill. He's got his receiver right in front of Logan Ryan. Nice catch made by rookie Devontae Parker out of Louisville. 14-yard pickup and a first down.
Here's a player that's really come on for the Dolphins in the last 5 or 6 weeks. Devontae Parker, their first-round pick. He's got size. He's got some speed.
1st and 10 here. This is Miller. There's open field tackle right there by Logan Ryan. And the gain is minimal, just inside the 35. He picks up 2 on the play. So they got Devontae Parker, number 1 pick as a rookie. They've got the 2nd-year receiver, Jarvis Landry. I mean, this is the envy of a lot of teams. They have 2 up-and-coming wide receivers.
Yeah, they got to feel really good, I think, about what they have at the wide receiver position. Landry's had a phenomenal season. Parker's going to be a good player as well.
Miller, 2nd down and 10. Malcolm Brown was right there, along with Jamie Collins, and a loss of 2. They push him back to the 36.
Well, very inconsistent when it comes to running the football. And it's really been a hit-or-miss type of season for the Dolphins. Too many negative runs. Dan Campbell's talked about being a more physical team, and it starts with running the football, just 27th in rushing. They're averaging less than 93 yards a game on the ground.
3rd down and 10.
So many 3rd and long situations.
You know it. They really struggle, as Rick said, on 3rd down. Tannehill, quick slant, caught on the play. Stills with the coverage in the secondary by Johnson. Very close to a first down. They'll spot him near the 26. He has to get just inside. He got it. There's a first down right there.
Just a simple slant throw. They throw a bunch of them from the shotgun, and he's actually not down there. He's still trying to make that first down.
It's a 1st and 10 handoff. With the tackle made by Mayo and just about a yard gain on the play, maybe even less than that. That catch, by the way, for Stills, the 20th consecutive time that he's caught one on 3rd to get a first. Before with the Saints, now with the Dolphins, who are marching again. Lead on a field goal. Watching the NFL on CBS. Starting the 2nd quarter with a 38-yard field goal for the Dolphins. The only score so far. Moving again, the big play, a 23-yard catch and run by Jennings of the Dolphins.
Now you look at that, Miami 22 plays, New England just 9 plays. It's been all Miami here in the 1st quarter, yet they only have 3 points to show for it.
The rookie Ajayi, Jay Ajayi, a 5th-round pick out of Boise State in the backfield. 2nd down and 10. Ajayi. And pulling on the play is James. And the tackle is made by Jamie Collins with a loss of 3 on the play. They'll push him back to the 28.
And you can almost count on when you see Deion Sims in there, number 80, the tight end, and Ajayi, it's probably going to be a run. Those guys are in there to move some people, and Ajayi is a different type of runner than Lamar Miller. He brings a power element to the running game. He put up some crazy numbers a season ago at Boise State.
Brandon Albert was pulling on that play for the Dolphins. 3rd and 13. And Tannehill going deep, and he's got his man with a pass intended for Stills and broken up by Leonard Johnson. 4th game today as a Patriot for Johnson, signed week 14.
Really nice coverage. You get press man-to-man coverage. Not a lot Tannehill could do with that one. He's just trying to give Kenny Stills a chance, but Leonard Johnson, great technique there at the end. Nice job playing the ball in the air.
So kicker, rookie free agent Andrew Franks will try a 46-yard field goal. Little bit of a breeze in his face. And this one is no good, wide right. Missing from 46. Only his 3rd miss of the season. 14:07 in the second. People affected by severe weather and other disasters need help now. To support those impacted by disasters like the severe weather in Illinois, Missouri, Texas, and other countless cities, and many, many crises, text Red Cross to 90999 to give $10. Here's Steven Jackson on 1st down and 10. He picks up 5, and he takes it up to the 41-yard line. Jackson getting a lot of carries, a lot of work here early in the Son of Miami.
How about their run-to-pass ratio for the Patriots? 9 runs and just the 1 pass so far in this game. Make it 10.
2nd down and 5. Rescue at the lead block, and Jackson teeters his way for 5 once again. Brought down by Neville Hewitt with the flag thrown. Hold on the play.
Holding offense, number 67. 10-yard penalties, receive 2nd down.
That's on Josh Klein, who's been battling a shoulder injury. He's started some games at left guard and certainly at right guard, and starting today.
Should start the game at defensive tackle. It's a pretty good tackle there. The more you can do, I say, Kevin. You know what I mean? You can play guard, you can play tackle, whatever it takes.
2nd down and 15. Dumps it off. Jackson. Lead block by Stork, and look at him chug his way past midfield with a catch and run to the 49. He picks up 20 on the play. It's like Steven Jackson of old.
Yeah, looks like he's ready to play. And nice job here, Brady, with his eyes holding the defenders. And Steven Jackson, talk about a big body in the open field. Exercise some real patience there, letting that offensive line get out in front of the screen.
Brandon Bolden is in right now. As you take a look at the 3-time Pro Bowler Jackson. It's down in 10. It's Bolden. They'll block it by Gronk, and they take it past the 45 and near the 46-yard line. Brought down on the play by Jordan Phillips. It is a gain of 5.
Very different than what we typically see with the Patriots. Like to spread you out with some of their empty sets and take advantage of the matchups, especially with their running backs and tight ends working inside on the linebackers and safeties. But with all the injuries at wide receiver, they maybe haven't felt as good about the matchups.
Python! Python! 52's the mic! What? Alabama!
2nd and 5. Bolden. And pulling in the play was Jackson with the downfield block by Fleming. And a gain takes him to the 34. That's a gain of 10 on 2nd and 5, and Bolden picks up a 1st down.
Well, you talk about being a complete player at your position. Check out Gronk here in the middle. Watch him just come off with good pad level. He's just going to take the linebacker and just push him right out of the hole. Demontre Moore, what a great block by Gronk at the point of attack.
46!
Haven't thrown to Gronk yet. Jackson is in, 1st and 10. And Jackson, the dive. He last was in the playoffs. He gets 2 yards right there. He was last in the playoffs as a rookie with St. Louis, and he was in the same backfield.
That was a long time ago.
With Marshall Falk, to show you how long ago that was. So he's looking for his first playoff appearance in over 10 years with this New England team.
You know, it's unfortunate, Kevin, because he's a terrific player, and he just played on some teams that weren't very good. You know, just didn't have the production and the consistency at the quarterback position. Kind of the guy that did the lion's share of the work in that Rams offense.
2nd down and 8.
Well, I'm not surprised to see Brady mix in the hard count. It's been a problem for this Miami defense. They jumped off sides 3 times last week.
5-yard penalty, it's 2nd down.
Rich, when you look at the run game for the New England Patriots, think of the guys they've lost. I mean, it's like some of these other positions. Lost Deion Lewis, lost LeGarrette Blount, lost on the offensive line, Nate Solder. And against the Jets last week, 19 carries and only 49 yards.
Yeah, it's amazing, and yet they continue to plug in players and get the consistency and production. You look at Bolden there, and White's been a terrific addition. Saw him score a touchdown last week against the Jets.
2nd down and 3. Jackson. Trying to twist his way inside, looking for a couple. He may have gotten it too, very close to a first down. Bryce McCain from the secondary and others are in there with the stop.
I'm going to throw out a number. I'm going to say 3. My film study, I say if Brady doesn't draw off this defensive line at least 3 times in this game, I'll be surprised. It jumped a bunch last week. They're very susceptible to the hard count. I think the Colts got him at least 3 times, maybe 4, especially in Ndamukong Suh, Kevin. I want to slow him down a little bit inside and give my offensive line a chance, not just in terms of the running game, but the passing game as well.
Last week against the Jets, and they faced 3rd and 1, 0 for 3. Overall, 3rd down conversions last week, 1 of 10. 3rd and 1 here. Jackson. Oh, he pile drives his way for the first. He is a sledgehammer. Gain of 5, pounding his way to the Dolphin 20.
Poor Bryce McCain, he's going to take the brunt of this ball. Watch this. He just gets worked and walked right back into the safety. Steven Jackson is a big man in the hole. He's getting some touches early.
He is with 8 carries and 27 yards. Bolden 5 carries and 23. 1st and 10. Brandon Bolden with the dance, then a Grimes tackle at about the 19 on a gain of a yard.
You know, I see all this run action off the power footwork. I'm just waiting for Brady to pull the ball back and find Gronk down the middle of the field for a touchdown. I mean, at some point we're going to see some play action off of all these runs that they've run up inside between the tackles.
Brady's only thrown 2 passes and completed both so far. 2nd and 9. Amendola is in. Bolden was slowed up by Hewitt and twists his way down near the 16 with a gain of 3. Olivier Vernon among a couple down there to make the stop.
Just getting Amendola back, Kevin's really going to help Brady at some point. You know, sounds like Julian Edelman's not that far off, and you know it's been really difficult. They're 0-2 without both Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola in the lineup. Nice to have at least one of them back so that they can work inside in the slot.
Amendola in right now, coming off a knee. Didn't play against the Jets last week. 3rd down and 6 for Tom Brady. James White is back there with him, running back. Low throw, incomplete, looking for Amendola with the coverage by the linebacker Kelvin Shepard, who has drawn high praise from his coaches for his performance with a flag thrown at the 24. Brady hit low. Suh.
We had Ndamukong Suh lined up as a defensive end.
Brady is looking at his right ankle. He was just bent over, holding it, and hobbling right now just a bit. He's number 3 in quarterback pressures.
To the helmet. Offense number 61. The penalty is declined. Brings up 4th down.
Marcus Cannon. And here comes the field goal unit.
Yeah, you're just going to see Cannon. He's working. He's actually going to work outside late on Suh. He realizes he's late. He just tries to grab and winds up up around the face mask.
Here's Stephen Gostkowski, who has made his last 20 field goal attempts on the road. 20 straight away from Foxborough. Last miss last November at Green Bay. November of 2014. 34-yard try right here.
What did Coach Belichick tell us last night? Miami's come after every kick. Gostkowski's not had a field goal block since his rookie year.
They get 21 and ties the game. 8:08 second quarter. The big play, a catch and run. Steven Jackson, 20 yards for Belichick and the Patriots. Patriots just got a Gostkowski field goal of 34 yards to tie this game. Patriots can be the #1 seed with the win or a tie or a loss by Denver and a tie. So they are in the driver's seat right now. They want to stay that way. The ensuing kickoff, and Damian Williams is deep back for the Miami Dolphins and will let this fly over his head with the touchback to the 20. Tannehill in the offense coming out. It's the number 27 offense in pro football. We'll step aside in 8:06 in the second.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the Acura Oh What Fun It Is to Drive event. Verizon. Better matters. And by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
Couple field goals in this, the final weekend of the regular season in the NFL. We just told you about the #1 seed for the 12-3 Patriots. They have the best record in the AFC.
Yeah, and you look at what has happened when they've had that #1 seed. They lost to the Giants in 2007. Of course, they lost to Rex Ryan and the Jets in that divisional round. Lost the Super Bowl again, and then of course last year they were able to finish it off with a impressive win over the Seattle Seahawks. And you look at this team, they've won 12 games for the 6th consecutive season, and they've got their hands full here today in the first half against the divisional rival, the Miami Dolphins.
We just saw Brady getting that right ankle looked at across the way. We'll keep tabs on that. After the field goal by New England of 34 yards. 1st and 10. Tannehill, the block by Turner. And a quick cross, grabbed by Cameron with a big-time hit by Gerard Mayo. On a gain of 4, he's up to the 24-yard line. Jordan Cameron, tight end.
Well, Tannehill's off to a good start, Kevin. 7 completions to 7 different receivers. He's done a nice job spreading the ball around. Made some big throws on 3rd down as well.
51.
They're still working on Brady. Retaping, as you can see. 2nd down and 6 for Tannehill.
Ready.
Landry in motion. Lamar Miller. And from behind, brought down by Alan Branch. With a gain of a yard, he's up near the 25-yard line. Well, Tom Brady knows what Aaron Rodgers and other quarterbacks have felt. Some shots by Sue sometimes don't resonate all that clearly.
It doesn't feel good when you have a big man like Ndamukong Suh fall on your ankle. All 320 pounds of them.
Down.
3rd down and 5. 5 defensive backs for New England. The dancing Landry. And on the play by Patrick Young. He's got a foot issue and a hip issue, but he comes up there, limits him to a gain of 2. They'll put him up to the 28, shy of the 1st down. Here comes the punting unit once again for the Miami Dolphins.
Well, you wonder why the Patriots are so good on defense. You see all the white jerseys around Landry. He's a guy that's not looking to get out of bounds. He's a finisher, but there's a good effort there by a slew of Patriot defenders.
Matt Darr will punt. And Keyshawn Martin is back inside the 30-yard line for New England. Returnable. From the 19-yard line comes Martin. And knocked out of bounds. Thomas and others force him over there. With a 16-yard return on a 54-yard punt. 5:55 in the first half. The Walter Payton Man of the Year team nominees for the Patriots: Devin McCourty, helping children and families in need. The Dolphins quarterback Ryan Tannehill, starting a mentoring program to help young high school students. The winner will be announced on February 6th during the NFL Honors Show, airing right here on CBS. Kevin Harlan, Rich Cannon, our terrific crew here in Miami. Threat of rain. High 70s with the temperature. 1st and 10 for Brady. Goes outside with the first throw to Brandon LaFell. He's playing with a foot injury. Loses a yard right there. Good stop by the linebacker Kelvin Shepard. They push him back to the 34.
The Patriots having a difficult time getting the passing game cranked up a little bit, Kevin. And talking to Brady last night, he said, look, we were trying. You know, we had a lot of different players, different changes with the offensive line. We're just trying to find those matchups. And I give him a lot of credit. He's shown great patience and professionalism in dealing with the young players. And I think really his ability to control his emotions, pretty amazing.
Fake to James White. A lot of traffic in there for Brady and throws it away. It's now 3rd and 11 after that second 11 throw. You said something interesting. A flag is thrown on the play. It's against Miami and it's a hold. Bryce McCain.
Before the ball was thrown, holding defense number 24. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic
You
first
said to
down.
Belichick and McDaniels, and then Tom Brady last night, he said he may be the best ever throwing the ball away.
It sounded weird saying it, but it's the truth. I think he may be the best quarterback in the league at throwing the ball away to avoid a negative play or a sack. And I think he understands that, you know, his value to this team is his ability to be available each week. He's not going to take an unnecessary hit. He understands what some of the issues are in the perimeter. He does a great job not taking negative plays.
It's White on 1st and 10. Around his ankles, he finds the linebacker, rookie free agent on a Marshall Neville Hewitt. It's a gain of 4. He's up to the 42-yard line. And we all know, of course, watching the Patriots over the years and watching Belichick, that protecting the ball is Belichick's big thing.
Yeah, I really thought it was interesting when Brady was mentioning it last night. And then, of course, Bill Belichick said the same thing. You can't win in the NFL until you can keep from losing. And they don't shoot themselves in the foot. Not a lot of penalties. When you watch this team, they don't fumble the football. They don't throw a lot of interceptions. They understand how to win.
Bolden on 2nd down and 6 to go. Lassoed as he takes it in there. Shepard once again, gain of 4 up to the 47-yard line and a couple yards shy of the first. The other thing that you mentioned with Brady and Belichick is the patience that they've all shown with the myriad of moves on this roster offensively.
Kevin, how often do we do a game where we see a head coach just become unraveled on the sideline, just totally lose his temper, and you just don't hardly ever see that with Brady or Belichick? I think they do a great job controlling their emotions. They realize that if they come unglued, then everyone else around them will be affected and impacted by that.
It's going to be a first down.
What did I say, 3?
Yeah.
I may be wrong.
Results in a first down.
It might be 5.
Well, we got Sue.
Well, you got Sue twice last week. And look, you've got to be smart. And that showed up on film, Kevin, as I was breaking down the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they're very susceptible. And it gets back to when you look at that, we talked about the penalties, the number of penalties that this team has had this year.
Dan Campbell played a long time in the NFL as a tight ends coach, and when Philbin was fired, they promoted him to interim head coach. He's 4-7 since taking over. 1st and 10 from the 48. Fake to Bolden. Block outside by Fleming. Time for Brady looking for the tight end Chandler, and that's a flag on Jones.
Well, wasn't even a catchable ball. That's
No.
the thing. He just panicked. He's had a good year, Rashad Jones, but he just panics there at the end. That wasn't even a catchable ball. And that's what Dan Campbell's saying.
And that's why there's a discussion right there.
Pass interference, defense, number 20. The pass was catchable. The ball was placed at the spot of the foul.
It's pretty
First down.
blatant. Jones caught, 24-yard penalty, in essence, down to the 24-yard line.
Yeah, you just watch this replay and from the end zone. I mean, this ball lands 5 yards out of bounds. But then again, Scott Chandler is what, 6'6" tall.
Very big.
I don't know what his vertical jump is, but he would have had to get pretty high there to get that one.
It's a 1st and 10 run. Here's Jackson once again. Kelvin Shepard will grab him about the 23 with a gain of a yard.
I've always been impressed with the Patriots' ability to make in-game adjustments on the fly. I think it's what they do so well. When you consider the average amount of time the ball is actually in play during an NFL game, it's around 12 minutes. So I think it's what happens between plays and between series that really makes a difference. And I think it's really what separates the Patriots from a lot of other teams. Their head coach, their offensive coordinator, their quarterback, their ability to make in-game adjustments.
White in the backfield, 2nd and 9. Here is White. Oh, big stick again. Shepard with another tackle. Boy, he's had a monster first half all over the field. He's up to the 29 with that knockback of 6 yards, throwing him for the loss.
Well, you're going to see Shepard. He knows he has man-to-man coverage on the back, and so he sees this screen developing. He's going to beat the offensive lineman right across his face, and James White has no chance. Good alert play by Kelvin Shepard.
White has really been playing well, too. He's wide bottom of your screen, 3rd and 15. They need the 14. White stuffed, hit by Olivier Vernon. He was the tip of the attack. There's no gain on the play.
I don't know that I've ever done a Patriots game where we've had 3 situations on 3rd and long where they've run it. It's been a pretty conservative approach here through the first half.
Brady again shows no ill effect from that ankle that he had retaped after the hit by Sue. But he is frustrated heading back to the bench at the 2-minute warning. Josh McDaniels is showing that passing motion right there. Brady is 4 of 5 with 20 yards in the first half. They're going to go for a field goal from Stephen Gostkowski. See 21 consecutive on the road. A 24-yard penalty on Rashad Jones gave him this field position. 46-yard field goal try. Gostkowski. And missing. 21 straight and a miss on number 22. So each team has missed a field goal. Each team has missed from 46. We're tied at 3, late second quarter on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side. And by Wendy's.
Coming up from our CBS studios in New York, the Verizon Halftime Report with JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cowher. Scores, news, highlights, and analysis, as well as the latest on the NFL playoff race. It's the Verizon Halftime Report next on CBS. This field goal by Gostkowski, first since this at Lambeau in Green Bay last year. Take over on the 36 with 3 timeouts. Tannehill 1st and 10. Across the middle, Damian Williams. Stacked up by an avalanche of Patriot defenders, and he picks up 7 up to the 43-yard line. Collins, Mayo, and others.
Dan Campbell taking a look at that clock. You got 3 timeouts to work with. Another completion here. It's probably time to use one.
Nickel secondary for New England. 2nd down and 3. Tannehill, here comes Shear. And Ninkovich wisely throwing it away. 3rd and 3. It's a marvel that Ninkovich is even out there. Had that left shin injury last week against the Jets. He hasn't missed a game since 2009, Rich. He missed his first practice this week, going back to January 2013.
Yeah, I think he really typifies what you expect from a Patriot defender. I mean, he gives you everything. He gives you an honest day's work, Kevin, every time out. I mean, he gives you a good 60 minutes of football every time he straps on the helmet.
Used to play for the Dolphins back in 07-08. 3rd and 3. Tannehill right on the money. Caught by Landry. He was grabbed onto by Mayo and slowed down there. Whopped by Johnson. Gain of 9 into New England territory to the 48.
And once Jarvis Landry catches the ball, the challenge is to get him on the ground. He's been so good with yards after contact.
Tannehill 1st and 10. 3 timeouts. Incomplete. Bodies down. Parker. Logan Ryan.
That could have been offensive pass interference. Devontae Park, I don't know if he just tripped. He's actually going to run right into the corner. Logan Ryan.
We talked about Ndamukong Suh's big contract that he signed during the offseason as a free agent. How about Tannehill's big contract that he signed here for the Dolphins?
Huge contract, Kevin. And as I mentioned before, I mean, he's got to play better. He has struggled within the division.
2nd down and 10. He lost earlier to the Dolphins, to the Patriots, 36-7. That's a catch outside by Parker with the coverage by Johnson. 36-7 was that score as England beat Miami earlier.
They got off to an ugly start in that when they couldn't run the football. I think they had just 15 yards rushing. And talking about Tannehill, he's going to have to change his approach because what he's doing simply isn't working. I mean, look at the numbers as a starter: 28 wins and 35 losses. That's ultimately how you're judged in this profession.
And he's also getting judged by his teammates' wives. Nico Grimes.
What a distraction that was this
Going to
week.
social media and criticizing the quarterback. 3rd down and 7. Going deep. Oh, he's got Jennings. What a catch and what a throw. They beat Leonard Johnson. The completion near the 13 of New England. 31-yard strike to the veteran Jennings. 1st and 10 Miami.
Well, really nice throw here by Tannehill. He's going to give Jennings plenty of room on the boundary, and he's able to get both feet in bounds. As you mentioned, he gets behind Leonard Johnson in the secondary.
Jennings only had 15 catches coming into today. Very sparsely used, and he's now at 54 yards on his 2 receptions this afternoon.
Kevin, Miami's been down here a couple times now, and they've got to be able to finish in this part of the field.
Williams in the backfield, 1st and 10 for Tannehill. Here comes Ninkovich. There goes the ball. Landry doubled, and the primary coverage by Leonard Johnson.
That's good defense. I mean, they're not going to let Jarvis Landry beat him. They're going to double Landry. You see him right in the middle of your screen. They've got a bracket coverage where they've got help inside out with the corner and the safety. That's when Tannehill needs a completion. That's the guy he's looking to.
That's the guy the Patriots look to. Their 41-year-old defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, has been with the Patriots since 04. Variety of roles. Defense, number 7. 2nd down and 10. Tannehill, touchdown. Devontae Parker beats Devin McCourty.
Well, they're just playing 2 deep zone, and Devontae Parker's just going to run the seam route, gets in between the corner and the safety, and Tannehill's able to get this up and down before Devin McCourty is able to react. Good throw and catch in the red zone.
Ryan Tannehill with his first touchdown in his last 100 pass attempts, going back to week 14 against the Giants.
This is the kind of the start that the Miami Dolphins were hoping for. We talked about slow starts in games. Haven't been out in front in a while.
Tannehill's numbers have gone down last year. Let's see if he held this through the catch. The guys in the truck picked this up. You can see McCourty in there wrestling him with the ball, and they are going to review. Every scoring play is reviewed automatically, and we're under 2 minutes. And Hockey Lee has talked with New York. He's gone under the hood. Former linebacker at Hockey Lee at Texas El Paso.
The ruling on the field stands as called. Touchdown.
Devontae Parker with the touchdown reception. That is his 3rd in a very young NFL career. The extra point coming up from Andrew Franks. 15-yard touchdown pass, Tannehill to Parker. Now 10-3. Miami. Back shoulder throw with Parker finding some room. In on McCourty and into the end zone for the Dolphins. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cowles. Scores, news, highlights, analysis, and the latest on the NFL playoff races. All coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report from our CBS studios in New York. This off 15-yard touchdown pass, Tannehill to Parker. And a big play on that drive, a 31-yard pass to the veteran Jennings. Their receiver goes deep over Martin's head. Touchback to the 20 with a New England 1st and 10. Well, as we've told you all afternoon so far, the Patriots can be the number 1 seed with the win or a tie, or a loss or tie by Denver. They've already secured first round bye, their 6th consecutive. won their 7th consecutive AFC East title. By the way, that is the first time a head coach has ever won 7 consecutive division titles. They're going to sit on the ball. Brady. That'll take us to halftime.
Really amazing to consider the first half. Rob Gronkowski, Kevin, not a single catch. Look at where all the balls have been going. 26 plays, 21 rushes for the Patriots in the first half.
How about that? 5 attempts, fewest of his Hall of Fame career. And the touchdown reception by Devontae Parker on a throw by Tannehill. The Dolphins have lost 3 consecutive games. They lost last week to the Colts 18-12. Patriots have lost 3 of their last 5. They come in 12-3 and bound for the postseason. We'll be back with the Verizon Halftime Report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50. Post-holiday, early days of 2016, we're in Miami, where the Dolphins have a touchdown pass from Tannehill. 8-10-3, Kevin Harlan on top of this one, along with Rich Gannon. There's a group in Denver, in fact, the whole Denver contingent, pretty interested in this game, how the Patriots fare.
Absolutely, and I'm very interested to see what the Patriots do differently in the second half, Kevin. They had their struggles in the first half, just 82 yards of offense. They were flat, really, on both sides of the ball. They need to get something going. I think they need to open it up a little bit and give Tom Brady a chance to spread it around.
But there is a method that the Patriots are using here with all this running and very little Brady throwing.
Yeah, I think they're trying to get ready for the postseason. Really, they got to be able to run the football. I think we're seeing more of Steven Jackson, and you know, they've got to be able to establish a bit of a running game. You look at Tom Brady in the first half, just threw the ball 5 times, but you don't want to see this. He got knocked down by Ndamukong Suh. They taped that ankle on the sidelines. It looks like he's okay, but Ryan Tannehill, I thought, really put together a pretty nice first half, made some big throws on 3rd down. Of course, a touchdown throw to Devontae Parker. They finally finish in the red zone. That's really important. You look at the second half adjustments, and I think New England, they've got to get Gronk the ball. Wasn't even targeted in the first half. I think defensively need to wake up a little bit. A bit of a flat performance in the first half from the Patriots on defense. I think offensively, we talked about the struggles that the Dolphins have had down in the red zone this year. They've got to be able to finish against a team like the Patriots. And I think defensively, maybe as good a half of football we've seen from the Dolphins on defense this season. They can't afford to let up at all in the second half.
Well, the Dolphins held the Patriots to only 1 play over 10 yards in the first half. A look at interim head coach Dan Campbell. The speculation is he and the staff will be cleaned out sometime this week. Patriots have 26 total plays. Martin retrieves this in the back of the end zone to a knee and a touchback. And nothing to Gronkowski so far. With 30 minutes of football gone here in South Florida, these are some of our numbers.
Yeah, pretty anemic when you look at the Patriots. I don't know that I've ever seen a half of football where Tom Brady's thrown for just 20 yards. And so, look, they've got to change it up, open it up here a little bit. They're only down a score. But most importantly, you don't want to see him taking any unnecessary hits as they get ready for the postseason.
They can be the #1 seed, home field throughout with the winner a tie. It's 1st and 10. Jackson in the backfield. 6th throw by Brady, caught by Martin. Taken down on the play by the safety, Michael Thomas, on a gain of 4 to the 24. Keyshawn Martin has evolved and begun to thrive with Amendola and Edelman out.
I loved what offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels told us last night. Even when they were healthy at wide receiver, Brady would take the time, Kevin, after practice to go over and work with Keyshawn Martin. It's amazing the things that they do to help others around them.
Jackson brought down by DeAndre Coleman. It is a gain of 2. So now Jackson has carried the ball about 10 times for 28 yards. With a look at Tom Brady.
Just watch him communicate in the huddle to the offensive line, to receivers, backs, giving tips and reminders, alerts, adjustments. He has great freedom and flexibility at the line of scrimmage to change plays, to change protections. He is the master of his domain. He sees the pressure. He's going to change the protection, get the ball out quick.
3rd and 4. With time, quick slant. It's caught by the running back, James White. It's a foot race. He got by Gray. He's being chased downfield by Lippett, and he takes it all the way to the 6-yard line of Miami. A 68-yard catch and run. They lose Dion Lewis. They bring in the second-year player out of Wisconsin, White, and he flies downfield.
Nice job by Brady changing the protection. You're going to see the slide. Everyone slides to the right. They pick up the blitz. Brady gets it out quick to the slant. He talked to us last night about the fact that he feels comfortable with James White lined up outside. He can run certain routes, and he just runs out of gas here at the end.
27th catch in a little over 4 games. Jackson, first and goal. There's a flag. Tackle made by Gary in the secondary. With a gain of 2 right there. He takes it, as we stand, to about the 4.
Hands to the face. Defense, number 62. Half the distance to the goal and an automatic first down.
Another defensive penalty. That's on lineman Coleman.
You just watch. He's going to knock off the helmet of the right guard Klein, the left guard Klein. It comes completely off.
Dion Lewis went out. James White stepped up, and Brady pointed him out last night when we talked to him. So he has been terrific. It's first and goal at the 2. Jackson, touchdown. He is just too big and too strong. With a 2-yard touchdown run, and the Patriots are within an extra point of tying this game. And White's big play of 68 yards on the catch was the impetus.
Look at the blocking at the point of attack. Everyone blocks down. Gronk has had a terrific half of football.
Keyshawn Martin in there blocking as well.
Yep. Everybody does a nice job. The tight ends. Gronk has been busy. That just tells you what type of player he is, Kev. We talk about being the best at what you do, not just running routes and catching the football, but also showing up and blocking in the running game.
Extra point, Gostkowski. We're tied at 10. James White grew up very close to here. He played at St. Thomas Aquinas High School. He was a 2-time state champion. He caught it and ran for 68. And then the bulldozing Steven Jackson to the house, tied at 10. We take a look at our halves today. The first by the Patriots moments ago. It is the 10th time that they have come out of the locker room at halftime and scored to start the second half on their first possession.
We talk about their ability to make adjustments at the half. Didn't take very long now, did it? 2 minutes and 28 seconds, 4 plays, 80 yards.
The other part of the story, we're just talking about James White, who grew up close to here and 2-time state champion. He was a teammate of Giovanni Bernard, the terrific running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. That was the backfield. White, who went to Wisconsin, and Bernard, and I can see why they were state champions. You've got a lot of people here, bought a lot of tickets for family and friends. And he just started with a 68-yard catch and run, which sets up a 2-yard touchdown run by Jackson. His first score as a Patriot. Now, first and 10, with a nice tackle right there by Malcolm Brown on the running back, Lamar Miller. No gain on the play. They'll stay at the 20.
Yeah, you look at the first half possessions. It took them a little while to get going, but once they did put together a really nice drive, a 10-play, 54-yard drive. Another series after that where they just didn't finish. They missed a field goal, and of course, an impressive drive before the half to get the touchdown to go up 10-3.
Tannehill looks into the nickel. Second down, long 9. Sheard couldn't bring down Miller. Zigs and zags his way outside. Alan Branch chased him out. Had a good block in there as well. There's no gain after all that run, and no gain for Lamar Miller, who, by the way, is the second leading rusher in the AFC over the last 2 seasons. Linebacker Le'Veon Bell.
It's a lot of work. Good penetration by Jabal Sheard. Just can't get him on the ground. Lamar Miller keeps the legs churning, gets some help from some buddies just to get back to the line of scrimmage. It's a lot of running.
No flag on the play, even though there was the conversation among the officials. Third down and 9. Dolphins have passed in all 9 third down situations this afternoon.
You've got to win against man-to-man coverage. Look at the perimeter. They're going to get a lot of it. And got to win these battles right here.
Low snap from a rookie, and it's picked. Almost intercepted. Almost picked off by Jamie Collins, who's already got an interception this season. Leading tackler, a terrific year, a Pro Bowler this year.
What a great reaction. Is right in the middle of your screen. You see Jamie Collins. He's going to see the bad snap, and watch this reaction. He knows the crossing route's coming. He jumps up. He almost makes the interception. Good alert play there by Lamar Miller to knock it away.
Punt coming up from Matt Dawn. Deep back is Keyshawn Martin inside the 30 for New England. He plays punt for Miami. Punt from the 24. Hangs on the 3-9, so some room to roam perhaps. He was slowed up on the play by the Dolphins' Michael Thomas. A 10-yard return after a 56-yard punt. Brady back out there. We're tied at 10, 11-10 third quarter.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency. Low fares, nothing to hide. Snickers. Snickers satisfies. And by Mercedes-Benz. Experience truly great engineering today at your authorized dealer.
Tannehill a touchdown pass. Steven Jackson a 2-yard touchdown run. Week 17 continues later today on CBS and Fox. Then tonight with a huge Sunday night game on NBC at Lambeau in Green Bay. Here come the Patriots. You know, they normally use the month of December, Rich, as a way to warm up for January and beyond, but not this season. It's just been kind of stitching things together for Belichick.
Yeah, I think that you have to see the big picture, Kevin. They're so banged up right now on offense. I mean, especially at the tackle position. You don't have Sebastian Vollmer. You don't have Julian Edelman, and I think that's really changed their approach here the last couple weeks.
Brady deep. Amendola had broken away, and it's incomplete. They had coverage underneath from McCain, and it's an incomplete pass.
I think the good news for the Patriots is that they can get this by and have home field advantage. They'll start getting players like Sebastian Vollmer back and Julian Edelman, and of course, it's just good to get Danny Amendola out there and get him some work. Steven Jackson is getting an opportunity to really touch the football in this game, and he's going to be, I think, a key component to what they do in the running game in the postseason.
Second down, 10. Brady, incomplete, looking for Martin. Coverage by McCain. You know, the running backs overall, though, Rich, even though we've seen receiver injuries for the New England Patriots, the running backs have been very important in terms of the passing. You take a look at the injuries that stand out for New England. Well, Patriot running backs have caught 101 passes this year, amongst the best in the NFL.
Yeah, they do a terrific job, I think, getting the ball to the backs. But look at those injuries, Kevin. That doesn't even count the players that are in injury reserve.
No.
Which is amazing.
3rd and 10, White is in. 5 defensive backs for the Miami Dolphins. Third and 10, ball was batted down. May have been tipped on the play by Demontre Moore. Joined the Dolphins a couple weeks ago. He was cut by the Giants. He's out of Texas A&M. He got in the passing lane, knocked it away, and here comes the punting unit for New England.
Miami's done a nice job in their coverage. Rashad Jones, he's been matched up most of the day on Gronk. See him, you have no choice but to grab and hold a little bit. You're going to see the tip pass here, line of scrimmage.
That was the first time they've targeted Gronk today. Ryan Allen the punt. Jarvis Landry deep back for Miami. Terrific hang time. Landry from the 19. We have the tackle made by Michael Williams, who is a tight end. Helps the blocking on that line. 9-yard return, 48-yard punt. We're tied at 10. Aerial coverage of today's game is provided by DirecTV. We're in Miami, and they're going to put covering on this renovated stadium. It's going to be about 70% covered. It's going to be state-of-the-art with Stephen Ross Signs that final check, and a Super Bowl will eventually find its way back down to South Florida. From the 28-yard line with the 1st and 10. Ajayi is in motion out of the backfield. Tannehill. And looking for his tight end, Cameron. With the coverage on the play by safety Patrick Chung. 2nd down and 10.
Well, tight end position, they haven't got a lot of production out of that group this year in this offense. I think it's really been a disappointment. You look at the 3 tight ends on the roster, Cameron, Sims, Stoneburner. They've combined for just 53 receptions, not the production they were hoping for back in September.
Nickel again for the Pats, 2nd down and 10. Ajayi. I got away from Hicks. And then jumping on his back and riding him down. Rob Ninkovich with a gain of 2. He's out to the 30-yard line. Kenny Stills, by the way, out now for the game. For Coach Dan Campbell with a hamstring. He told us something interesting the other day. He said he spends a lot of time just getting the team to focus on the task at hand. I thought that was something you don't hear much from a coach this late in the year.
I think he spent a lot of his time, Kevin, just working on the morale of his coaching staff, the players. It's been a frustrating year, I think, for everyone involved in this organization.
Tough when you got to get your staff up, right? Get them motivated. They tried. 3rd down and 8. Coming off the edge, Mayo picked up. Wobbler downfield, caught! Devontae Parker, banged by Harmon. Ryan was in the vicinity, down to the 41-yard line of New England on a 29-yard throw by Tannehill, who is 13-23, now 14-24, 171 through the air.
Well, you're going to see the double move on the sidelines, and protection really helps. You see the little out and up. Nice throw here by Tannehill between the corner and the safety.
Ajayi rams his way into Tannehill, then he is doused by Malcolm Brown with no gain on the play. Belichick says Brown is getting better.
You consider the injuries that they have. No Chandler Jones today. See more of Jabal Sheard, and even defense coordinator Matt Patricia said last night players like Malcolm Brown, Alan Branch could play in some different spots along that defensive line.
2nd down and 10. Andrew wants to throw. No one there. Mayo jumps on his back. Johnson tries to strip it, a gain of a yard on the play. And they're down to the 40-yard line of New England after the 29-yard pass to Parker.
Well, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the double pass, and it just took a while to develop. It's a good decision by Devontae Parker not throwing this football. As you see Devin McCourty in the middle of the field, he's in position to make that play. Good decision not to throw it by Jarvis Landry. Just thinking about it. It was the 8th time today that Miami's been a 3rd and 8 or longer. Really struggling on the early downs.
Damian Williams in the backfield, 3rd down and 9 for Tannehill. Deep, and he's got Cameron. Chung was right there defending. Had a bit of a break. He couldn't make it click as he holds up his left tackle right there, Brandon Elbert. Looks like the offense is going to stay on the field.
You know, you almost have to be exact with your location on throws as you play against this New England secondary when they play man-to-man coverage. They make you earn every throw.
How do you like this decision to go for it, Rich? I guess when you're 5 and 10 and maybe taking your last stabs at the thing, you might as well just keep him out there and keep plugging away.
I don't know. I think with the way your defense is playing, Kevin, I think it makes more sense to pin him back. We're talking about a 10-10 game here.
4th and 9.
No, they're just trying to draw him off sides.
Yep. What do you think of Tannehill and the leadership things, Rich, that he has, that he needs to show at that quarterback position?
Well, he's got a ways to go. Look, Kevin, you talked about the conversation we had with head coach Dan Campbell. When he told me that they have a few players with real passion for this game, but not enough to make a difference in the locker room, and that they don't have the players that can bring it all together, to me, that's another way of saying that they don't have sufficient leadership, and I really think it starts at the quarterback position. I have seen steady progress with Ryan Tannehill, but he has to be more authoritative. He has to take more control of this football team. On his watch, they're busy firing coaches. That's not a good thing.
Matt Dard, a punt. Amendola was deep, and the ball cannot stick. 10th touchback of the year ties an NFL high. Tied at 10, 7:44 in the third.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by T-Mobile. Ditch your carrier and switch to the Un-carrier. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Tomorrow on an all-new Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Don't miss Samuel L. Jackson. Plus later this week, Jerry Seinfeld and Matthew Broderick. All new Colbert. All this week. Only CBS. After the punt, into the end zone, touchback. Jackson in the backfield. Brady 1st and 10 with a couple of tight ends. Jackson offers a block. Brady wants to go for Gronk. And broken up. He had a linebacker on him and a rookie at that. Neville Hewitt. It's incomplete. Second time they throw to Gronkowski today.
Well, they're having a difficult time getting him the football. It's pretty good coverage by Neville Hewitt. Gronk wanting some pass interference. He's not going to get it. Good competitive play there on the boundary.
It goes without saying in the current state of the team just how valuable Gronkowski is. Pro Bowler again this year for the 4th time. 2nd down and 10. Golden is in. Here's Hewitt. He got him on that little shovel pass. Throws him for a 1-yard loss. Back to the 19-yard line. Hewitt, who is making just his 2nd NFL start today for the injured Jelani Jenkins.
Well, Kevin, you've been calling out his name a lot here in this game. I mean, he's just really taking advantage of his opportunity. We just saw him defending on Gronk. Good tackle in the hole. Kid's really played well. He's shown some enthusiasm.
3rd and 11. Deep again, looking for Martin, going against Grimes. What a play by Grimes. The 3-time Pro Bowler knocks it away. They were going for Keyshawn Martin.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense, number 50.
Olivier Vernon.
Penalty, automatic 1st down.
As they continue to take shots at Tom Brady. Sixth penalty on the Dolphins defense today.
Well, that's just not smart football. I mean, here you're getting a chance to get off the field and you decide to hit Brady late from behind.
He's already got the bad right ankle from Sue falling on him earlier on. 1st and 10. What a catch. Was he in? Out of bounds, hit the chalk. A man that big contorting that much. That is amazing. Look at that.
He's not able to get that left foot in. Just shows you the confidence that Brady has to make that back shoulder throw to his tight end. Lined up outside on the cornerback, Bryce McCain.
Most receiving yards of any tight end in Patriot history. Special player who will play a huge role in the postseason. 2nd and 10. Jackson is in. Fake to him. Fleming a block. Amendola, who's brought down by Michael Thomas. Danny Amendola makes his 64th reception of the season, playing with the bad knee. Didn't play last week. And on the play picks up 9. Up to the 43.
Yeah, it's really going to help. I think Amendola back in the lineup. Eventually, Julian Edelman, I would anticipate in a couple weeks, he'll be able to step in and play. Coming back from that foot injury, that's going to make a world of difference, especially in the middle of the field and especially on 3rd down.
Yeah, hurt the knee, hurt the foot in that game against Houston back on the 20th of December. 3rd and a short 2. Shelby's on Brady's tail. Martin downfield, he caught the ball! Flag thrown, Martin down to the 29. Finally brought down by Gary. But did he push? It looks like he did. This will go against the Patriot receiver, Keyshawn Martin.
Pass interference, offense, number 82. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot to keep 3rd down.
Well, Brady holds it as long as he possibly can. You don't see a lot of this Brady out on the edge. Just going to throw up this ball to Keyshawn Martin, you see that left hand extend, and that creates just enough separation between himself and Brent Grimes.
Maybe a little bit of acting there by Grimes.
That's a little bit of acting for sure.
Hyde deserves some cake for a play like that. 3rd and 12. Bolden in, White in, blocked by Fleming. Brady going deep, and he's looking for LaFell. What a defensive play downfield. Turned in by rookie Tony Lippett, a former wide receiver. He's out of Michigan State, and Dan Campbell feels he can be an NFL starter. He just came up with a starter play right there.
Well, first of all, nice job by Brady. He's going to slide around the pocket to give himself a little bit of extra time, and he can't get everything on this throw. And it allows the corner, Tony Lippett, to get a hand on that football. Just as he lets go of it, he's going to get hit. He's been on the ground too much here.
Ryan Allen, second consecutive punt for the New England Patriots. Landry. Williams slows him down. And then he is finished off on the play after a 11-yard return. 56-yard punt. Time. We have the best crew in network television. Cameraman Charles Hill, Nate Spearman, Chuck Denton. Audio, Phil Adler and Gordon Gilliam. Sean Mahan, Sean Spurry, George Wishart, Bill Grittinger, and videotape graphics, Renee Paquin, Ryan Mason, Mike Friedman, KJ Theano, Susie Fisher. Front of the truck, RTD, Brent Christian, Jason Ross, there's Kenny Mack, and Mark Grant. We thank them for every minute that they give our broadcast every single Sunday. As good as it gets. The best of CBS. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. 1st and 10 after a punt. Miller. Right into that tough front. Big hit made initially by Akeem Hicks on Miller. It's a gain of a yard. He's up to the 23.
I give him credit for trying, but they've had a very difficult time running the football against this Patriots front seven. And Kevin, you talked about this New England defense. We talked so much about the offense. They've ranked in the top 10 in just about every major statistical category this season. 7th in total defense, 8th against the run, 8th in scoring. That man right there, Matt Patricia, has done a really nice job with his unit.
The hope is they can keep him because he has got head coach material written all over him, as does Josh McDaniels, who has been there before as a head coach in Denver. 2nd down and 9. Tannehill finds his tight end, that is Dion Sims, with a gain of 7 on the play. Sims with his 15th catch of the season, and he's out to the 30 and 2 yards shy of a first.
Tannehill's done a nice job, Kevin, managing this game and made some big throws on 3rd down. They just got to stay out of the 3rd and long situations. That's really what's done them in. When they've been in manageable situations, they've been very successful.
Running back is Damian Williams with a 3rd down and 2. Tannehill for Williams, and he's wide open. Collins may have hesitated with the coverage. The hit by McCourty, the gain through the air. Tannehill takes it with the pass for 22 to the 48 of New England.
Well, just keep an eye on Jamie Collins. He's going to get picked. He has the back in man-to-man coverage, but he's going to run into the receiver, Jarvis Landry, and that creates plenty of separation for Ryan Tannehill.
Miller is in, 1st and 10. Tripped over the feet of Collins that time. No gain on the play.
We just talked about Ryan Tannehill today. He's had a nice job. I always felt he is much more comfortable, Kevin, throwing the ball on the move outside the pocket, but today he's made some really nice throws in between those tackles. A nice job spreading the ball around. 8 different receivers have a catch today for the Dolphins.
Into the nickel, 2nd down and 10. You see the flag. Here comes Miller. Dancing on Collins. Brought down on the play by Malcolm Butler. Maybe a gain of 1. The quarterback job is demanding, especially one that's as highly priced as Tannehill. And that line has been beat up in front of him.
Personal foul, face mask, offense number 74. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot.
That's
Repeat second down.
right tackle Jason Fox. But with the issues on the offensive line, Rich, are we getting a clear indication of where Tannehill is and what he might be as a quarterback in this league?
I don't think so. I mean, Kevin, I think that the offensive line has certainly played a big part in it, and I think it's affected his production. And we talked about the number of sacks. He's been dropped to the ground more than any other quarterback in 4 seasons. And I think there's been too much change around him. They fired the offensive coordinator a couple years ago, Mike Sherman, after his second season. Forced to learn an entirely new offense last year, and then they just wound up firing Bill Lazor. And too much change around the quarterback.
Second down and 25, Tannehill. Landry, high, makes a miss. He is slippery. Finally, Mayo grabs him near midfield with a spinning catch and run of 12 yards for a guy who's got the most receptions in his first 2 years of any receiver before him in league history. More than Beckham, more than anybody.
He's going to be a really good player. And they've got some tough decisions to make as an organization, obviously starting tomorrow, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Third down 13. They need the Patriot 38. On the move, got close with the Jennings lunge and a tackle made by Butler. He picks up 12 on 3rd and 13, so it looks like they may keep the offense out there.
Yeah, he's going to be really close. I don't think he can get the ball. Nice effort here, but as he's going to the ground, he kind of gets tripped up and he can't get that extend. That was pretty close. He gets it to the yard mark anyway.
Did he catch the ball? Did he catch the ball was the discussion on the far side. And they're marking him back, so they say he did not catch it. See, Butler got him a little bit.
Oh, I think he had possession. I think the ball comes out as he's reaching to the ground. I think I'd take a look at that one if I was Dan Campbell.
He's going to challenge, as you can see.
Certainly from that angle, looked like he had possession. The ball didn't start coming loose until he hit the ground.
Miami just challenging the ruling on the field that the pass was incomplete.
You think what? You think it was a catch?
Yeah, I think he has possession. I mean, I can't tell.
Has it one?
Yeah, right there. Looks like the ball's not moving. And now as he comes down, he still has possession. It doesn't really start coming loose until he's reaching for the first down.
And his knee was down.
Yep.
Well, this gives us a good chance to say hello for the first time today to our New York studios and our good friend Mike Carey. And Mike, you've watched us a couple times. What do you think?
Yes, Kevin. Okay, remember, the first decision is the receiver going to the ground, which means was he contacted near his second step, which he is, and does that take him to the ground, which it does. If the ball comes loose upon that first contact, it's an incomplete pass.
So you're saying...
So in my opinion, that's an incomplete pass.
Incomplete.
The rule on the field will be confirmed. The contact takes him to the ground. When he hits the ground, the ball comes loose.
Mike, you hear a lot of people talk about they don't know what a catch is or isn't. Is there ambiguity there for you when you watch this, or are we splitting hairs? How do you view how a catch is or isn't ruled?
Well, I try to go right by the numbers. If the rule book says if he's contacted near simultaneous to his second foot and that contact takes him to the ground and he is not up long enough to become a runner, when the ball hits the ground, he must maintain control, which he does not. So for me, and once the fans get used to that, then they will make those same decisions. Second step, he's going to the ground, incomplete pass.
They're so close. I mean, I hear you, Mike.
Did he remain upright? Did he remain upright long enough to become a runner? And because that whole motion was the process of going to the ground, in my opinion, that's an incomplete pass. And let's hope everybody sees it that way.
Well, you're not lying about everybody. There's a lot of people involved. You got the on the field official. You got the official up in the booth. Certainly Dean Blandino back in New York. There's a lot of people taking a look at this one. But to me, it looks like he gets both feet on the ground. He's still moving forward, and it's not really until at the end of the play
is he beginning to fall,
where Malcolm Butler's getting him to the ground, and now he's just trying to reach out for the first down marker.
Yes, but was he upright long enough to become a runner, or was he knocked down simultaneous with his second step? and that contact brought him to the ground.
Well, Hochul's coming out. We'll put a soda on this one, okay, Mike? We'll see who's right. We thank you always for your opinion and your analysis, which is spot on. Here we go.
The pass was complete. It'll be complete at the 39-yard line. There's no timeout charge.
Look at
The runner became a runner. The receiver became a runner before he began going to the ground. Therefore, it was not incomplete when the ball came out when he hit the ground. Complete catch.
So, Mike, when we see Ed Hochuli at the airport tonight after the game, should we tell him what you said?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so there's the ambiguity there.
That's what I'm saying. It's hard even.
Contact takes him to the ground.
No, that's fun. All right, Mike, thank you so much. 4th and 1. It is a catch by Greg Jennings. Miller in the backfield tries to submarine, and he comes up short. Good stand on 4th and 1. Look at the avalanche of defenders right there for the New England Patriots. Butler and Collins and Mayo and Ninkovich and Sheard.
Well, great penetration at the point of attack. You see the double team. Really nice job by Alan Branch. He gets it started. Look at all those white jerseys to the football. That's the area where they've really struggled. 3rd and short yardage situations. Lamar Miller, not that type of back that can get up in there and smack it in there for a couple of those tough yards.
There's Matt Patricia, who has an aeronautical engineering degree from RPI. He is the guy. He's the smartest guy in the room. And he comes up with a nice stand right there on 4th and 1. Here's a 1st and 10. Steven Jackson belted. The spin and the subsequent tackle as he's brought down by Shepard. It's a gain of 2, and he's up to the 41. Brady has taken his lumps today.
Yeah, too many of them, and started early, and Dominican Sue comes off the edge. He rolls up on him. That's caused him to get that ankle retaped. And you hate to see these low hits on Brady. This is a cheap shot by Olivier Vernon. And got to keep this guy upright and clean and safe for the postseason.
Brady's 2nd down and 8. Bolden was in. Pressure was there. We just finished talking about it. Shelby came right up the middle. Another belt. 3rd and 8 coming up for Brady and the Patriots offense.
Well, this is really hard because you're trying to get the backside guard out to block, and that's really, you're asking a lot.
Shaq Mason, yeah. Shaq Mason.
It's a difficult block coming from the off-guard position to go out and kick out the backside defensive end.
Mason playing the left guard. Trey Jackson playing the other side. Bolden motion, 3rd and 8. They need the 49. It's against the Patriots.
False start, offense, number 80. 5-yard penalty. It's 3rd down.
Amendola.
For the 4th time today, the Patriots, Kevin, have been in a 3rd and 10 or longer situation against this Miami defense. Big reason the Patriots have had their own struggles on 3rd down. Just 3 of 9 so far against the Dolphins.
6 defensive backs for Miami. 3rd and 13. White at the side. Offers a block. Brady on the money, but short. Big hit made right there by Thomas. It was caught by Amendola. He picks up 8, shy of the 1st. It's 4th and 5. The punting unit on the field for a 3rd consecutive time.
That was played well by Michael Thomas. Does a great job anticipating the throw and catch.
Thomas out of Stanford. Ryan Allen. They're caught 15-yard line. Hang time right about 4-5. And a 41-yard punt right there. Well, in the South Florida newspapers, a flood of stories about the owner, Stephen Ross, right there. And Mike Tannenbaum, who's in front of him in that booth. And these are the guys that are going to make wholesale changes, they say. There's Mike Tannenbaum there to your left.
Yeah, there's Tannenbaum. There's Desmond Howard right there, sitting next to Stephen Ross. But Mike Tannenbaum, Kevin, you're right, has got some really difficult decisions to make in the coming days. You know, they obviously fired Joe Philbin a while ago. They
How about that other guy? What if Dan Marino's going to get
Dan Marino there? Dennis Hickey parted ways with him last night.
Tannehill 1st and 10. Seam, Landry. Brought down by Butler, hit by Chung. Finds a way to get 19 yards on the play. He is some kind of receiver. He just caught his 5th of the day for 54 yards.
Well, we know there's a bunch of people in that booth there that know some football. Our former colleague Dan Marino, Desmond Howard, a Heisman Trophy winner, Super Bowl winner, and Mike Tannenbaum, Stephen Ross. I think they need some continuity and some consistency, Kevin, in the building. They've had so much turnover.
Jennings on 1st and 10. Hunter Johnson was there to trip him up. That's a gain of 8 as the quarter comes to a close. Still tied at 10. Patriots looking for a win to sew up home field drought.
Follow me into the jungle.
Patriots already have a first-round bye, 6th consecutive time. They've won the division for a 7th consecutive year. Right now, they can be a #1 seed with a win or a tie here in Miami, or a loss or tie by Denver, which will play in about an hour and a half against Phillip Rivers and the San Diego Chargers at Mile High. 2nd down and 2, beginning the 4th quarter. Lamar Miller. Good block by Sims. He opens the door and he works his way down to the New England 48-yard line with a gain of 9.
Well, they're having more success now running the football a little bit on 1st down. These early downs, mixing in the run and a little bit of play action. It's been good for Ryan Tannehill and the Dolphins.
Zach Taylor, he's calling the plays and taking the place of Bill Lazor, who was fired midseason or a little later. 1st and 10.
Ready? What?
Good time for Landry. Got tripped up with Chung. Inadvertent, no yellow. Incomplete. Tannehill had hit his last 6 passes in a row. Never miss a moment of football action with the CBS Sports app. Every play, every score, every game, and every highlight, right as they happen. Download the CBS Sports app now at cbssports.com/mobile. 2nd down and 10. Tannehill, 20 of 32, 251. With the touchdown throw, this is Miller. Hicks has him and will not let go. Ninkovich there too, loss of a couple back to midfield.
You know, Kevin, they don't audible a lot, and you watch this Dolphins offense, and you know, it's not that kind of offense, and I think that's a change moving forward. You look at that last run. That run had no chance. You could see the penetration. You could see the safety up around the line of scrimmage. And you're one short in your blocking scheme, and yet they still run these, you know, it's like banging your head into the wall. And at some point, they have to be able to get out of a bad play and into a good play. And you don't see that a lot when you study this Miami offense on tape.
3 rushing, 3rd and 12. Tannehill was sheared right there. And that pressure throws the pass low and almost uncatchable. Jabal Sheard has been terrific. The #1 player in Pro Football Focus's analytical look among all 4-3 defensive ends in the league.
Yeah, they're having success working on the right tackle. Fox, he has struggled regardless of who's lined up in front of him. Jason Fox has been playing for the injured Jawan James. Better production out of that spot for sure.
Darn a punt. Amendola back inside the 10 for the New England Patriots. Ooh, was right. Bolden, and there goes a flag. This is Amendola. It's tough to bring down. Nice return by Danny Amendola, but there's a flag back where the punt was kicked up. Bolden came in, 26-yard return, 34-yard punt. Ed Hockley.
Running into the kicker, defense, number 38. 5-yard penalty, repeat 4th down.
Remember, it was 4th and 12, so now 4th and 7.
Yeah, you're going to see off the edge, Brandon Bolden. He's got a shot at it, but right there at the end, he just, once you commit, it's hard to pull back, and Brandon Bolden clearly runs into the kicker, Matt Darr.
Darr is not very effective planting that ball inside the 20. Among the league leaders in touchbacks. But he has been very consistent. And remember, he won that punting job over Pro Bowler Brandon Fields in the preseason.
Yeah, but also takes
and he was
away.
Cheaper.
Yeah, but also takes away a pretty good return from Danny Amendola.
It does.
Now there's a good chance they'll be pinned back inside their 20. Most of these punters, right when they get around the midfield, they just blast the ball as high as they possibly can and try and land it down around the 10-yard line. These are pretty easy kicks at this level. Yep.
This time he will be inside the 20. Fair caught at the 8, Amendola. 38-yarder, another flag was thrown. This time back at the 38. As Dakota Watson, who was signed this week by the New England Patriots, was drawn with Ajayi, who is playing special teams and blocking for Miami.
Holding by the receiving team, number 52.
Watson.
A penalty is enforced from where the ball is dead, half the distance to the goal.
See him right there getting tangled. Timeout, 12:57 in the game. 3 straight punts by the Patriot offense. Some hidden yards there. They had 38 yards lost because of the penalty and the re-kick for New England. We're starting field position today for Brady. 9-17. Outside LaFell, who's brought down by the linebacker, and he has been all over the field today. Neville Hewitt. It is a gain of 8. They'll put him at about the 12. Well, there's a look at Robert Kraft, and Bill Belichick said this week there's not a better working relationship anywhere in the league between a head coach and his owner.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what they've been able to create. Certainly, that man deserves a lot of the credit, Kevin, for keeping it all together. And visited with him before the game. He said he learned a lot from working with Bill Parcells. And, I think the relationship between Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft is special. It's unique. They have won so much together. I always say it's hard to make a first down in this business. It's even more difficult to win a game. And yet to win at the pace that these folks have done in New England, they've won 12 games for 6 consecutive seasons. Certainly he deserves a lot of credit for keeping things together and keeping this team focused.
Blocked by White, 3rd and 1 for Brady. Got it, Gronkowski. First catch today. Digs his way into Hewitt, brought down by Shepard, picks up 12. Gronkowski had never been held catchless in a regular season game.
Well, it's taken a while, and good look at Rashad Jones, who's had a pretty solid year himself, and he's been busy covering Gronk. He's gotten some help. They've mixed in some change-ups. They put some corners on him. They're continuing to change it up. Got a corner on him right now. Under Bryce McCain.
1,200 yards on the season. Here he goes. A Gronkowski throw once again. You called the coverage. There it was by Bryce McCain. Incomplete after the gain of 12 moments ago to Gronkowski.
Yeah, pretty good coverage here. I mean, this is difficult challenge for these smaller corners against a tight end that's 6'6", 250 pounds. Actually, he steps out of bounds. He's got to give Brady a little bit more room on the boundary.
Patriot offense averaged 32 points a game the first 10, then the injuries, and did not average as much the last 6, about 22, 23 points a game. 2nd down and 10. Bolden grabbed from behind, brought down by Olivier Vernon. He's at the 25 with no gain on the play.
Well, just check out Olivier Vernon, what he does here. Does a really nice job on the tight end, Michael Williams. He walks him into the backfield, and I mean, the back has no chance. So really, we talk about Olivier Vernon, how he can rush the passer. That's a great example of how he's a complete player at his position.
Third and 10. Brady, Gronk. Oh, he bounced right off McCain. He'll still be shy of the first down, as Rashad Jones came in there and grabbed him after a gain of 6, making it 4th and 4, a punting unit on the field for the Patriots. 4th consecutive punt.
And just watch the attention. Go ahead and freeze it right about there. You're going to see 1, 2. You got a third defender out here. I mean, they're doing everything they can to limit the explosive plays from Gronk in the passing game, but you still got to get him on the ground.
Belichick talked about the edge rushing on punts by this punt team of Miami. Time, not much penetration in the punt. Sent skyward by Allen. Andrew will let it bounce. Out of bounds it goes. Hit the clock at 9:50 in the 4th. We are tied. 51-yard punt. Tannehill back out there for the Dolphins.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Honda. Hurry in for great deals during Happy Honda Days. Verizon. Better matters. And by Amazon Fire TV. Change the way you TV.
They crack them for you at Joe's Stone Crab. One of the places to go here in South Florida. The night before Super Bowl 50, the NFL salutes the best players and plays of the season in a primetime, star-studded football and entertainment special. NFL honors Saturday, February 6th only. CBS. The playoff picture is very simple. If the Patriots win or tie, they can be a #1 seed. But if they lose, they've got to hope Denver loses or ties to have home field throughout. Right now with the AFC's best record at 12-3.
I don't see Denver losing at home to San Diego, so Patriots better take care of business here in the 4th quarter.
The 30.
4 consecutive New England punts. 1st and 10 Miami. You got the fake. Here's a big tackle. Alan Branch chasing the quarterback. Sims has got it. Chung the stop. Gain of 11. And a first down. Good patience there by Tannehill to wait for that route to mature.
And they're doing a good job moving the pocket a little bit with Ryan Tannehill, trying to throw it down the field. It's not there. Takes the short thing underneath to his tight end, Deion Sims.
But 80.
With a 1st and 10. Ajayi. Inside. Not finding much. Good pursuit. Gerard Mayo was there with a gain of a yard to the 29-yard line of Miami.
Kevin, you mentioned Zach Taylor has taken over, the former college coach. He calling plays for the Miami Dolphins. 5 weeks ago took over for Bill Lazor, and I think it's impossible to implement a new scheme. I think he's talking to him on Friday. He's developed a routine with his wife, so they go through the play calls and situations in a game. She calls out a down and distance, and he calls out a personnel group in the play, and I did something very similar with my wife. It's a great way to work together as a couple.
2nd down and 9. Landry digging his way out of the grasp of Chung and others. An 18-yard catch and run takes it up to the 48-yard line of Miami for a first down.
And I think Zach Taylor would agree it's pretty easy to call plays for a player like this. Jarvis Landry, who's had a terrific year for the Dolphins. I mean, he's got size, speed, quickness, determination, great hands.
Chung's hurt.
He was banged up last week because didn't play against the Jets.
Foot, hip injury for Patrick Chung. The athletic trainers out there right now for the New England Patriots to take a look at him.
I think his own teammate gets him. I think Malcolm Butler gets him from behind with a little bit of a whiplash.
Rich, there's no doubt that this may not be the smoothest playoff ride for the Patriots. You know, they're going to keep everybody on the edge of your seat, so you got to harness yourself in when you watch this team as they get some healthy bodies back bit by bit as the playoffs continue for Belichick and crew.
Well, that's the key. I think, you know, they know what the big picture is. They're going to get some players back, and they can get through today and lock up that first seed in the AFC. That would give them another week or 10, 12 days to get some other players back on the field.
1st and 10. They're going deep, and they're looking for Parker, and he caught the ball on a ricochet. Beating Logan Ryan. Devin McCourty throws him out of bounds near the 6-yard line of the Patriots. A 46-yard throw. Parker's had a big day.
Well, for a second, I thought Logan Ryan was going to make the interception. It goes right through his hands, and you see Parker there. He out-jumps him. The ball just kind of bounces up there, and he just plucks it away from the corner. But a great effort and finish by Devontae Parker. It's nice to have a guy that's 6'3" that can go up and get it.
First and goal. Ajayi moves a pile all the way down near the 2 with a gain of 4. Hicks, Chung back in there making the stop.
Well, if you were the Patriots, Kevin, you're playing a 5-10 Miami team. They just fired, parted ways with the general manager last night. You know changes are coming to the staff. You knew this team was going to give you their best effort in Week 17. This shouldn't come as a surprise to the Patriots that the Dolphins are giving it their all here at the end.
Second down and goal at the 2. Landry in motion. They've got the tight end. Cameron, touchdown. Second touchdown pass today for quarterback Ryan Tannehill.
Well, you see at the top of your screen, nice job by Tannehill squaring up those shoulders and making a difficult throw, moving to his left.
They're working on McCourty and for Jordan Cameron. He was signed to replace Charles Clay, who left as a free agent and went up to Buffalo. A 2-yard touchdown pass there, a 15-yard touchdown pass earlier to Parker. Parker, by the way, has been brilliant this afternoon for Miami. 5 catches, 106 yards. With the extra point making it 17-10 Miami. Under 7 to go in the 4th quarter. They got an 18-yard catch and run by Jennings, a 46-yard pass to Parker. Then Tannehill to Jordan Cameron for 6. Patriots have had a couple of 4th quarter comebacks this year. Look at Brady coming up next. The San Diego Chargers take on the Denver Broncos as Denver drives to win the AFC West. Where the Rams will take on the Niners. Check local listings right here on CBS Sports. Kansas City is also looking at a possible division crown in the West. Should things happen their way, they today are hosting the Raiders. Broncos and Chiefs games going on simultaneously. 2-yard touchdown pass, Tannehill to his tight end Cameron. The ensuing kickoff. Martin lets it go out of the end zone. So 1st and 10 from the 20 for Brady. And they have had 4 consecutive punts after they began the second half, Rich, with the 2-yard touchdown run by Steven Jackson.
Yeah, they've been struggling a little bit to find the rhythm offensively. You also got to give that Miami defense some credit as well, Kevin. You know, they haven't been very competitive in the division. They've lost 7 consecutive games in the AFC East, allowing at least 27 points in each of those 7 losses.
Klein at the left guard, Trey Jackson at the right. 1st and 10. Cannon the block. Brady was hit by Shelby. That ball is loose, and he goes and tries to vacuum it in. Boy, the pressure on Brady has been significant today. First sack right there, but hit a lot.
Yeah, Shelby working on Klein. He's going to walk him right back into the quarterback. Just knocks the ball out of Brady. Brady has the wherewithal to get that right hand and just fall on it, but penetration and pressure right up the middle in the face of Tom Brady.
Fleming is playing that left tackle. We have not seen LeAdrian Waddle, who played last week. Cannon playing the right tackle. He struggled against the Jets. 2nd and 15. Brady to White with a Shelby tackle and a gain of a yard up to the 16.
Well, they haven't been able to get a lot of movement at the line of scrimmage. They came out a little bit in the 1st quarter and had some success with Steven Jackson, but they've not had a lot of success running the football here in the 2nd half against this Miami front 7.
Now here comes Brady. It's the 5th time that they've had 3rd and 10 or more in the 2nd half alone.
Just don't see the separation at wide receiver. They're not winning against man-to-man coverage. Look at this. Everybody up around the line of scrimmage.
8. They need the 30. Down he goes. Rashad Jones, Calvin Shepard. All kinds of pressure. Down is Vernon. Second sack on Brady. Losing 8 on the play. The punting unit takes the field for New England.
Well, look, you've got everybody up. You're going to bring the corner and the safety. They peel out on the inside, but they're one short. Brady's got to get rid of it. Can't take the sack in that situation.
Lot of pressure. Brady today, 12 of 21. Third 3 and out in this second half. And the 5th consecutive punt for the New England Patriots. 5:13 to go. They need a good one here from Ryan Allen. Landry about the 45-yard line for Miami.
He's got room.
Flag thrown, 40-yard line, hang time of 4 seconds, and here he goes like a rocket. Landry takes it down to the 25. But flags on the field, 2 of them. 30-yard return, 53-yard punt.
Well, I love the way Landry returns the punt. He's not a lot of messing around. He's just going to hit it.
Everyone talks about Odell Beckham Jr., and rightly so, but this kid has numbers that are better, at least in their second season. Of course, Beckham was out with a suspension, and this kid does it all. They want to get the ball in Landry's hands as often as possible. He's run it 17 times, offsetting penalties.
When you think about what he means to them in terms of his production and consistency at the wide receiver position, but he's also an outstanding returner. To look at his total yards this season.
There were fouls by both teams on the play. Illegal procedure by the offense. The kicking team went out of bounds untouched, number 18. There was also a hold during the kick by the receiving team, number 29. Miami is elected to re-kick, offset, replay 4th down.
Well, that was a kind of a flat punt by Ryan Allen. Not a lot of hang time. They'll be backed up even more in this situation, and a re-kick. Miami has done a terrific job in these situations going after it.
He does, by the way, have the full length that he would normally have to punt. He's not crowded back against the back. Room to spare. Ryan Allen once again. Look, they blow that one dead.
Before the ball was kicked, false start offense, number 49. Half the distance to the goal. It's still 4th down.
That's the rookie long snapper, Joe Cardona. He's not going to have the full length now to punt. Normally 14 yards is what a punter gets. Normally 14.
Yeah, he's uncovered up here. What they're going to do is they're going to run out late, but a bit of a false start early.
Ooh. Yeah, came in hard and high. Landry from his own 42. Brought down by the Pro Bowler Slater. He's the special teams captain. He leads in special teams tackles. He's going to the Pro Bowl for a 5th year and another flag. When you get congratulated by the other team, that's a sign of respect.
He's really good at what he does. And
he is.
His dad was a great player.
Jackie
was
offensive
a
lineman.
terrific player, Hall of Famer.
Hang time, by the way, there, Rich, was only 3.6. And they're not giving the guys a chance to get down and cover this very fast returner, Landry. Busy day for Ed Hockey League.
During the return holding by the receiving team, number 34, a 10-yard penalty is enforced from the dead ball spot. Miami keeps the ball, first down.
Well, for the Dolphins, their 134th penalty this season. That is a single-season franchise record. Timeout.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Find your agent at statefarm.com. And by Subway and the turkey breast sandwich with no artificial preservatives.
This Thursday, meet a guardian angel who has no wings, no halo, and no boundaries. Jane Lynch stars an Angel from Hell, premiering Thursday at 9:30, 8:30 Central. Only CBS, first and 10. Lamar Miller, Sheard, and others. He'll bring them down. Gain of a couple on the play. For the New England Patriots, they've been a top seed 5 times under Belichick. 03, 07, 10, 11, and 14. They're number 1 seed right now, but they got a winner tie in this one, or hope Denver loses after this one.
Yeah, 4 of the 5 times they've advanced to the Super Bowl, so clearly they know what's at stake, Kevin. And this is a critical series for them. I mean, any score here by the Dolphins will make it a 2-score game. With the way the Patriots are playing on offense right now, they could be pretty difficult for them to come from behind.
Loss of a half yard. Second down, long 10. Miller again. There they stiffen. McCourty, Hicks make the stop, throw him for a loss of 2.
This is why you got to be able to change plays in the line of scrimmage. I mean, at some point you got to realize that maybe you're going to be 1 short. How can you run? You can't block everybody. You're 1 short, and that's what Ryan Tannehill, Kevin, and the Miami Dolphins have to do a better job of.
Reading.
You can't run plays that don't have a chance.
And you think he can see that before it even happens?
There's 8 guys there. You only have 6 up front.
They need the 35. 3rd and 13. Ninkovich pressuring, as is Sheard. Here comes Tannehill. He's got the first down and more. The college receiver transitioning to quarterback takes it down with his legs to the 27 of New England. 17-yard first down run by Tannehill.
Well, watch this gap that you get right here. And then the quarterback, he knows once it's man-to-man coverage, he sees that gap on the backside, and now he's got a lot of grass, a lot of green grass. And this is not something we see a lot of from Tannehill. He can run, but probably doesn't do it enough. I'd encourage him to do it even more, especially in critical 3rd down situations. He can make some plays with his legs.
Now the question is, when you start using your timeouts, if you're the Patriots, Ajayi hit the pitch on 1st and 10. Hit by Collins and by Butler, losing 2. What about the tight end situation?
They'll take one now for sure.
They just did. You're right. Number 1. Boy, that picture says it all.
Yeah, I mean, now if you're Miami, Kevin, you can just run it a couple times and force the Patriots to continue to use those timeouts. And Miami's already in field goal range.
There's a player down for Miami.
It's their center.
It is Jamil Douglas, who is taking the place of Mike Pouncey, who's out with a left foot and ankle injury.
New England may get this timeout back.
I was just going to say.
That's what Coach Belichick's on the field. He's going to be asking Ed Hockley here in just a minute. See, the officials are all huddled up. You get a good look at McClendon come in there. Yeah, so they're down to their 3rd center right now. And can't imagine he's taking a lot of reps as you get a look at Mike Pouncey there on the sidelines. Pro Bowl center.
They probably should get that timeout back, shouldn't they, Rich?
Yeah, I think they will.
We'll find out. Ed Hockley has just talked to Belichick, and I'm sure that was the discussion.
Yep.
Now I think he goes over and informs Dan Campbell, correct?
Yep. I think he just told him that it's an injury timeout. I don't know, Kevin. You just watch the Patriots today. I don't want to say they were flat, but I mean, you look at the lack of production offensively, defensively, they've had their struggles. You look at Tannehill, over 325 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Have not played their best on either side of the ball.
There's a second down and 12.
Oh, he's got him.
It's Tannehill, and he's got him downfield. Sims, the tight end. McCourty with the tackle. Down to the 8. First and goal to go with a 21-yard hit.
Well, you can see the play action away from him. Tannehill's going to come out on the boot. Tight end goes down. McCourty's got his eyes in the backfield. He knows he's got the tight end in man-to-man coverage. Now he's doing everything he possibly can just to catch up. Good throw again by Tannehill outside the pocket, moving to his left. Well, they're being aggressive, aren't they?
They are
Think
indeed.
they were going to run it there a couple times? No.
First and goal. Ajayi. There's by Collins. By Ninkovich and others, and Chung, Cordy, they all come in there with a hand and no gain on the play. We've reached the 2-minute warning. The Patriots are down by 7 in Miami. They've put 2 seconds on the clock, and thus we come back a little bit early. There was no gain by Ajayi on that last play. Staying at the 7. We still have no clarity if they're going to give the Patriots that timeout back, because there was an injury. Right now, they've got them listed with 2. Dolphins with 3.
Well, one scoreboard I'm looking at, Kevin, has them with 1 on the far score.
Well, that's because we're in Miami.
Something's not right.
No, something's not right at all.
Well, now they've got it.
Well, now they've got, on our board, they've got the 1 as well.
Well, the Patriots would have taken the timeout before the 2-minute warning. I guess that's...
They didn't give it to him back.
Timeout was called. The clock should have read 2:13.
So they get the play clock right.
2:13. 2:13 on the clock. Thank you.
Still doesn't make up for the one timeout that we thought.
And he just took a timeout before the run. Before that.
Right. So that does make sense.
Right, now it does.
I was trying to figure out why didn't they give him the timeout back for the injury to Jamil Douglas.
Right.
Regardless, I mean, it's...
Tannehill now is talking to Hockley about time on the clock, which means another meeting.
Well, the side judge, clock operator,
so what
gotta
happened?
get on the same page.
So what happened was Belichick had called a timeout before that handoff on that first and goal at the 7 to Ajayi, but it wasn't recognized, and that's why we're back to 2:13, and that's why another timeout had been taken off the board against the Patriots.
The clock is at 2:13. The game clock started when I blew my whistle. It should not have started until the ball was snapped. That's why the clock's at 2:13.
Well, at least it gives us an explanation. I mean, that's cleans it up a little bit, but nonetheless, it's at 2:13, and Patriots have just the 1 timeout left in the 2-minute warning.
Apple. 91, 86 up.
Second down, goal, right up the middle and down inside the 1. Lamar Miller brought down by Collins on a gain of 6.
The Patriots will use that last timeout.
Third and final timeout for the Patriots.
Boy, nice run here. Look at the movement at the point of attack. You see the backside lane for Lamar Miller.
Good blocking there by Brandon Albert, the left tackle. He got in there and cleared some wood.
Well, they've stayed after it in the running game. You look at the production, 70 offensive snaps already for Miami in this game, as opposed to just 50 from the Patriots. 440 yards of offense. Wow. Didn't see this one coming. Patriots need a miracle here. They need some type of turnover, Kevin. It's the only way they're going to get back in this one.
Hey, 51.
Ryan Tannehill, you're talking to the back. Make sure you secure it with 2 hands on the football. Ball can't touch the ground.
3rd and goal. Miller. And they sure did. Hicks and others in there. That takes us to the 2-minute warning. Ninkovich in there and sheared. 4th and goal when we come back. Patriots and Brady down by 7 on CBS. Well, the field goal unit will go out there for Miami. 4th and goal with the ball at the 1. Andrew Franks. He'll try to tack on 3 more. The Patriots are out of timeouts. Miami's got 3. And the Patriots, coming into this game, could be a #1 seed with the win or a tie. But even if they lose, a loss by Denver still gives them the #1 seed.
This is like an old extra point.
It is, you're right.
For Andrew Franks. Looks weird.
19-yard drive. Previous possession, they got the 2-yard touchdown pass from Tannehill to the tight end, Jordan Cameron. 3 more there. 20-10 Miami. 1:56 to go. 2 straight scores. And the Patriots will get it back with their last 5 possessions. 5 consecutive punts. Houston is in. And so they join Kansas City, the Patriots, Denver, and Cincinnati. The Jets are losing. So coming into today, the Jets and Texans control their own destiny with the win they were in. The Steelers need a win and help. And the Colts, they were hoping for a miracle. If anything, it looks like the Colts now are gone.
How about the job Bill O'Brien has done in Houston with 4 different quarterbacks? How do you make the playoffs when you have to play with 4 different quarterbacks?
How many teams in pro football history have done that with 4 different quarterbacks?
Former coach here with the Patriots. But Bill O'Brien has done a terrific job. Last year, Kevin, they won 9 games with starting 3 different quarterbacks and playing with 4.
Right.
Well, going to have to hustle here. Need a big return and a couple big plays in the passing game to get themselves close. Can kick the field goal first if they have to. It's going to be tough with no timeouts left.
With the kickoff and returnable by Martin, but they're going to leave him in the end zone. Slater was there to keep him at bay. So to begin the second half, the New England Patriots had a 2-yard touchdown run by Jackson. Brady is done, and here is Garoppolo, who will finish off the game for New England. Is this waving the white flag?
This makes sense, Kevin. Look, Brady has taken some big shots today. We saw Ndamukong Suh roll up on him. The last thing you want is Tom Brady to get hurt in a situation where you've got no timeouts left with 1:56. Let Garoppolo come in and see what he can do, but they're probably not going to win this game. Why expose Brady to any unnecessary hits?
Garoppolo with the 1st and 10 off to White. He dropped it. Shelby was right there. The Patriots, since that touchdown run by Jackson to begin the second half, 5 drives, 20 plays, 32 yards.
We've got Gronk out of the game too, starting to pull some of the starters out, Kevin. And look, we talked to a bunch of the coaches last night from the Patriots, and they reiterated to us it's not as much about playing at home, but playing well this time of the year. Look, they're limping into the postseason. They've lost 2 straight games. They need to get healthy, especially on offense.
2nd down and 10. Jimmy Garoppolo. Caught by Harper, who is grabbed in the play by Tony Lippett, and is up to the 26-6. What do you think they're thinking in Denver right now?
Well, it's amazing to think that, I don't think anyone anticipated the Patriots coming down here and laying an egg. And so now Denver, they clinch with a win and got a real good shot at that against the Chargers, who are pretty beat up on offense.
3rd and 4, looking for Chandler, incomplete. Coverage on the play by Michael Thomas. 4th down.
Well, certainly a teaching opportunity for Bill Belichick. This team did not respond and didn't play well, Kevin, when they had the opportunity to come down here in Week 17. Tom Brady just 12 of 21 for 134 yards.
Then you go back and you look at that Sunday night game when Denver came back and beat Belichick and the Patriots. That will prove to be huge in the difference if Denver would go on and beat San Diego later today. 4th and 4, Jimmy Garoppolo. Dropped, incomplete, and looking for Brandon LaFell. So on downs, it goes to Miami, and the Dolphins are going to go to 6-10. And the New England Patriots will lose their 4th game in the last 6, and they'll go to 12-4 and finish up the regular season. Well, some people think it's miraculous they finished that high with all the injuries that they've had to go through this year.
Well, they've had to be creative, especially on offense. With you look at the injuries to the offensive line. Ken, we talked about over a dozen different starting combinations, which is the most in football. 10 different players have started at least one game along the offensive line. They've got to get Sebastian Vollmer back. Getting Julian Edelman back on the field is going to certainly help a guy like Rob Gronkowski. And I think on the defensive side, they didn't have Chandler Jones. They didn't have Dante Hightower. Got to get healthy. Injuries have certainly taken their toll on the Patriots here the last couple weeks.
They will have a first-round bye, but now it's all on the Denver Broncos. Now listen, if Denver loses, Belichick and New England is still the #1 seed.
Yeah, but with that defense that they have, against Philip Rivers, an offensive line in front of them, they've been decimated with injuries.
The Jets have lost, and if Pittsburgh wins, they would get the last playoff spot. They would be the last wild card. Unbelievable. Up 16 are the Steelers right now with a minute to go. So it would look like they are going to get in, and the Jets, looks like the Jets are going to lose. 2nd and 11. And again to a knee. That runs it out. The Dolphins with 10 unanswered 4th quarter points. The Dolphin defense holds the Patriots to 20 yards in the 4th quarter. We don't know about Dan Campbell, who said he will get a chance to interview for the job with the owner of the Miami Dolphins, but the rumors are rampant. And we'll find out what happens to him and his staff very shortly.
Well, Dan Campbell's got to be proud and pleased, Kevin, with the performance that his team gave him today. I mean, these guys gave him everything that they had, and you appreciate a team that fights to the finish, and hopefully they can build some momentum and carry it into their offseason program.
He finishes 5-7, taking the place of Joe Philbin.
They had to make some difficult decisions. Fired Kevin Coyle, the defensive coordinator. Had to fire Bill Lazor about 5 weeks ago. And Stephen Ross and Mike Tannenbaum have some tough decisions to make here in the next 24 hours.
Home record of 3-5 for the Dolphins. They stop a 3-game losing streak. They finished 6-10 with this season, which held such promise. They thought they would be just the reverse. And the New England Patriots, the defending Super Bowl champions who started 10-0, conclude the season losing 4 of their last 6. Their road record finishes 5-3, and they split the season series with the Miami Dolphins.
How about Tannehill today? 25 of 38, 350 yards, a couple touchdowns. He took care of the football, which was the difference.
Coming up next, game 2 of the NFL doubleheader on CBS. For Rich Gannon, Kevin Harlan, good night from Miami. You've been watching the NFL on CBS, your home for Super Bowl 50.